Hey, what's poppin', people? It's your boy Supreme Latios 14, and in this video, we are here with another Pokemon Unite Deep Dive series where we take a look at Pokemon, look into it in full depth, and talk about what makes this Pokemon so good and whether it's worth purchasing with your Aeos coins. So, in this video, we're going to be taking a look at Alolan Ninetales because you guys have requested this Pokemon. I actually did do a poll on which attacker you guys wanted to see, and Alolan Ninetales ended up winning the poll by by a pretty close amount. I think it was a tie between Alolan Ninetales and I think it was Greninja, I don't remember. But regardless, Alolan Ninetales won, so we're going to be going ahead and talking about Alolan Ninetales in this video. And then stay tuned because later in this video, I will be showcasing my album build that I use for Alolan Ninetales, as well as the build I go over. Well, you guys are going to see the items I use, but then later on, you'll see what albums I use for this Pokemon. And then all will be pretty much clear about what I use for this particular Pokemon. So of course, if you guys do enjoy these type of videos, if you guys like them, of course, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe if you haven't, and of course hit that bell. I really do appreciate it. It means a lot. It means that you guys do enjoy these deep dives, and I'll go ahead and continue to be doing this. Following this will be the Eldegoss deep dive, which that will be coming pretty soon. So stay tuned for that. So with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about Ninetales. So Ninetales, as you already know, is a ranged special attacker. Of course, it is an attacker. So yeah. So what I think is cool, it's interesting, is that in the main series games, Ninetales is actually more of a defensive Pokemon rather than an attacker. But in Unite, that's definitely out the window. So it's actually a pretty strong attacker. It has a lot of offense. Support wise, it's not too bad either. Scoring is not too bad. The only thing that it kind of lacks is mobility and endurance because it is an attacker, and most attackers do tend to be pretty squishy. So meaning that they cannot take hits that well. So that's something that's you have to, of course, take note when you play this Pokemon or any attacker in general. They're strong, but they can be pretty squishy. So you have to be careful about how to utilize them, of course. So of course, how we're going to do it is that we're going to, of course, take a look at his basic attack effects as well as then go into his passive, and then we're going to go over his moves and talk about what makes this Pokemon so good. Now, in my personal opinion, I think Alolan Ninetales is definitely fun to play, honestly. I'm not sure how good it is right now in the current meta, but I think this Pokemon is honestly a lot of fun. I think Alolan Ninetales is definitely a Pokemon that not only does it look super majestic, especially with this background. Like, look at that; it looks so beautiful with the snow. But I think this Pokemon is pretty good with the right team. And honestly, we just did a deep dive on Mamoswine, and honestly, like I mentioned before, Mamoswine and Alolan Ninetales just it's like a cream and crop together. Together they form the famous the freeze lane that it's just so ridiculous with all the CC that they offer. So let's go ahead and talk about, now we did Mamoswine and now we're doing its partner Alolan Ninetales. So anyways, let's go ahead and go into its basic attacks. So what Ninetales basic attack does is when you get your boosted attack, it actually has an effect which it deals damage to nearby opposing Pokemon and then decreases their movement speed for a short time. So basically, this Pokemon is able to slow them down with their once they get the boosted attack, which is really nice. And apparently it can actually hit multiple nearby Pokemon. Although I believe that's how it works. I could be wrong, but the fact that it does decrease the movement speed and it is a basic attack, that's actually pretty nice, slowing them down. And I think that's really good, especially early game where you're able to get up. If you keep getting your basic attacks off, I honestly think it's just that good, honestly. And then of course when it comes down to his passive, I don't know why I couldn't get the name out, but we have Snow Warning, which what this does is cause the snow to fall on an opposing Pokemon, dealing damage to it and decreasing its movement speed for a short time. Boosted attacks and moves except Aurora Veil, Sling, Snow, and hitting the same target with snow same target with snow multiple times will freeze it for a short time. So this ability pretty much is as it says, it does some damage to it. It's a passive that does damage to any nearby Pokemon and slows them down. And then boosted attacks and moves except Aurora Veil, Sling, Snow, and hitting the same target with snow multiple times will freeze it for a short time. So basically, with this, it allows you to get boosted attacks and moves. Basically, all of Ninetales moves barring Auroraville, does actually can freeze, which is pretty cool, honestly. So the only thing I can say that I don't like about this passive is that if you try to hide in a bush and there's happens to be like a wild Pokemon nearby, I feel like the this passive can honestly give away your position, honestly, and that's one thing I could say that I honestly dislike about this passive is that it can easily backfire to you to an extent because especially if you happen to have there's a wild Pokemon near you and you're trying to set up an ambush, the snow warning pretty much can very well likely give away your location depending on where you are, of course. So that's one thing I kind of don't like about Ninetales' passive. I mean, I kind of understand as to why is the case because I feel like this ability is pretty nuts otherwise. But if you're trying to set up an ambush with Ninetales, honestly, it's just not. It's just going to be a little more difficult because the passive just pretty much gives away your location. So especially like if you're in the center, if you happen to be in the center, like especially for example, if you're at Ray, the snow one can easily. I feel like it just gives away your location quite a bit. So that's one thing I don't like about snow warning. But other than that, it's really nice. It's a really nice passive for Ninetales, and I think it's really cool. So now let's go ahead and go into the level as well as its move. So as you see here, you start as a low Vulpix level 1, and then you evolve to a level 9 to a level 4, which means this Pokemon does not need jungle at all to make it work. You could just play this Pokemon on lane, and this Pokemon does really well. You could just get your Ninetales at level 4, and you're pretty much good to go. And the Ninetales can pretty much do a lot of pressure early game, which is really good. Um, so that's why I think it's definitely really nice to have it, honestly, on lane because it's a really good attacker, and you really don't need jungle for this Pokemon, honestly, to really make it work. So that's just what I think. So, anyways, going into the moves now, we have Powder Snow and Icy Wind. You get to start with one of these at level 1. You get the other move, of course, at level 3. So that's pretty much how it works. So we're going to talk first about Powder Snow, which it's a move that attacks with a chilly gust of powdery snow, decreasing the movement speed of opposing Pokemon for a short time where it hits. So basically, this Pokemon has a lot of moves to slow the enemy down right out the gate. So it's pretty nice. And then Icy Wind um, it does damage. It pretty much does damage to opposing Pokemon. Same effect as the Powder Snow. Also, in addition, it also shoves opposing Pokemon that are especially close to the user. So if they happen to be too close to, Icy Wind can shove them away for a little bit. So basically, this Pokemon has a lot of movement decreasing to start the game off, which honestly is actually pretty good honestly. That's why Pokemon like this just does so well because it has like if you're trying to get away, if you get hit by any of these moves, or even its boosted basic attack, you're basically getting slowed down quite a bit. So it's like it's harder for it. Of course, it makes it hard for you to get away because you have pretty much 3 moves right out the gate, which will literally slow you down right out the get go. So that's something that that most people definitely get annoyed by, including myself. Especially whether if you have to go up against a freeze lane, freeze lane is definitely something that is very troubling, very annoying to deal with because it's pretty strong. It definitely gets the job done. Um, but that's just what I think about Ninetales about this overall. But honestly, it's definitely it's definitely pretty crazy how much slowage that Ninetales that this has early game. So it's pretty crazy. Anyways, going to level 4, you actually evolve to Ninetales, like I mentioned, at level 4, and you have a choice between Avalanche and Dazzling Gleam. So let's talk about Avalanche first. So I think personally both of its movesets are actually pretty good. Avalanche is pretty much a move that just does damage. So this allows you to attack with a gush of chilly ice towards a designated area. The ice forms a wall that cannot be passed through on land, and then after a short time, the wall melts and collapses, dealing damage to opposing Pokemon in the area of effect. And then when you get the upgraded, it also decreases the movement speed of opposing Pokemon for a short time when this move hits. So it's a pretty strong move that does damage as well as um if enemies are able hit the wall while the wall melts, it just does damage to them, of course. So it's pretty much your strong. It's a pretty strong. It's just basically a strong attack that you can use. So and then Dazzling Gleam, which is a lot different. So this move says it attacks with a powerful cone of blinding light, leaving opposing Pokemon unable to act when this move hits. So basically, it makes this move is just good. Is good to hit with to pretty much make Pokemon able to act for a short time, which I think is pretty good. And then when you get the upgrade, It increases the damage dealt and the length of time opposing Pokemon are unable to act. Now, in my opinion, with Ninetales, both of these moves are pretty good, honestly. Like lately, before when I started playing Ninetales, I've always been about Avalanche and Blizzard, but nowadays I'm honestly really starting to enjoy Dazzling Gleam and Aurora Veil a bit more. I'm gonna get into more about the other two moves in just a moment, of course. But honestly, I feel like both of these moves are good. Honestly, Dazzling Gleam is great to stun them for a bit, and then Avalanche is good just to get some pretty good damage to get things started, of course. So that's what I think. Now going into level 6, you actually get your second move of level 6, which is pretty nice. You get Blizzard. You have a choice between Blizzard and Aurora Veil. So Blizzard summons an Howling Blizzard in two blasts in a forward direction. The first blast deals damage to opposing Pokemon in the area of effect and decreases their movement speed for a short time. So again, it basically there's more movement speed decreasing with the Blizzard. So that's of course pretty nice. And then the second blast deals damage to opposing Pokemon in the area of effect and shoves them. So basically, Blizzard and Avalanche combo really well together because after you go for your Avalanche to get that little the icy wall, the little snow wall up, if you use Blizzard and actually push a Pokemon into that wall, because the second part of the Blizzard shoves them in the direction that you aimed it, of course. So basically, this move shoves them, and then at the same time, the wall will collapse, and then that's a little extra damage, honestly. So it's honestly really not. It's honestly really crazy. And then it says here, if the second blast hits an obstacle, it also deals damage multiple times to opposing Pokemon near the point of impact and decreases their movement speed for a short time. And then when you get the upgrade, it increases damage dealt by this move. So yeah, Blizzard and Avalanche combo really well together because you go for Avalanche, you get that wall up, and then you follow it up with a Blizzard. If you're able to hit an enemy with the Avalanche and the wall is literally behind him, and then you follow it up with a Blizzard right out the gate, you're pretty much doing a lot of damage to them right out the gate. Especially if you can make them hit the wall, that's a lot of damage you can get out with it. It's honestly really nuts, honestly. So if you do go with Avalanche, you definitely want to go Blizzard with Avalanche because that move set together is like a cream in a crop. So definitely go Avalanche Blizzard if you want to use Blizzard. I think Blizzard combos really well with Avalanche, of course. And now Ninetales' second move, Aurora Veil, is definitely the move. It's definitely a move that we definitely got to talk about. So Aurora Veil it actually doesn't do any damage, but what it does do is basically a bit of a dash. This allows the user to leap into a designated location and then create an aura around itself that reduces damage received by the user and ally Pokemon in the area of effect. Now, this is of course where while you're in the Aurora, so keep that in mind. And of course, in addition to that, it also gives Ninetales a little bit of a dash. So you can if you do go with Aurora Veil, it does offer you a little bit of a dash. You can run stuff like X attack, so you can do more damage, of course, with this. So, and then while the user is inside the Aurora, it gets a movement speed increase, and its basic attacks become boosted attacks with increased attack speed. And then these boosted attacks, in addition, also restore the user's HP when they deal damage, which is pretty crazy. So basically, Aurora Veil makes Ninetales' basic attacks pretty crazy, honestly. So they become boosted attacks, you get a movement speed increase, and then you get an increased attack speed, and you restore HP when these boosted attacks do damage to Pokemon, honestly. It's really crazy. Now, this effect was pretty strong in the beginning, but then they did nerf the healing effect of the boosted attack as well as the increased movement speed effect. So I know the effect is not as strong as it used to be, but it's still not that bad, honestly. Although Blizzard did get some buffs before, it did increase the duration of the effect of opposing Pokemon. So if I do play Ninetales again, I probably may have to try the Avalanche Blizzard build one more time to see how that goes. But honestly, I feel like Aurora Veil is still pretty crazy, honestly. And then when you get the upgrade at 13, it reduces this move's cooldown and further reduces damage allied Pokemon receive. So that's honestly pretty crazy, honestly. So you have a move that gives you movement speed. It makes it so you definitely take slightly lesser damage while you're in the Aurora, and you get basic attacks. You get boosted basic attacks, and you get a boosted basic attack speed. So your basic attacks come out much faster. And when you hit those basic attacks, you actually get you get some HP out of it in return. So that's honestly pretty crazy. And honestly, at first when I started playing Ninetales, I never knew how Aurora Veil worked, honestly. But then when I really studied it up carefully, and see why people were running the particular Bloom build, which I'm going to show you guys in just a few minutes. So stay tuned for that. Um, that's I understand now why Aurora Veil was definitely used more than the Avalanche Blizzard build, honestly. So it's pretty crazy. But in my opinion, I think both of the Night's movesets are actually pretty good. So it depends on what your playstyle is. Like, if you really want some really strong offense with damage wise, you want to go with the Avalanche Blizzard. If you want to go with slightly more defensive but still have some really insane basic attack damage, you have Aurora Veil with Dazzling Gleam. I think is definitely the way. So that's just my opinion, of course, but take it as it is. And then Ninetales gets its Unite at level 9, which is called Snow Glow, which basically just attacks with chilly snow and ice, dealing damage to Pokemon in the area of effect when it hits. And then if the opposing Pokemon happens to be frozen, the damage gets increased. So basically, the idea is you want to make sure that the Pokemon that happen to be in the area are actually frozen. If they're frozen, you actually do even more damage with the Ninetales Unite. So what's cool about this is that I feel like this works really nicely, especially with Ninetales' Aurora Veil and getting those boosted basic attacks, which will then freeze Pokemon in place. And then, of course, this combos really nicely with Mamoswine, because if you guys already know how Mamoswine works from that deep dive, you guys will understand why Ninetales and Mamoswine together is just so freaking insane, honestly. Like, it's not really meta define or anything, but it is something that definitely can slow the game down quite a bit. Especially early game is pretty crazy. So, Mamoswine can literally freeze things up, of course, and so can Ninetales. And the Ninetales' Unite moves just does insane damage to Pokemon that are frozen, honestly. So I think Ninetales is definitely something that is definitely underlooked. I feel like this Pokemon is just. I think this Pokemon, honestly, is just really, really good, honestly, on paper, honestly. I feel like, like, it definitely did get a bit of hindrance quite a bit, but I feel like it's still pretty good, honestly. This is my personal build. I've been running with Ninetales for the Veil build. If I were to run, like, let's say Avalanche Blizzard, I would go with like a more offensive way, like with I will go probably I'll probably go muscle, choice specs, and wise glasses for maximum damage output. Or probably I will probably just replace the buddy barrier for like a choice specs for more damage. Or maybe even if I really want to go full offense, I'll probably drop focus band for like a wise glasses, just to get more damage, of course. Um, Now I did promise you guys the emblem build I run with Ninetales, so I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys that real quick. So I might actually play it in a bit to do my dailies. But anyway, let me show you guys the emblem build I go with Ninetales, so you guys can understand why this works. So this is actually not the build. This is actually my build for my physical attackers. We're gonna go ahead and go with this build. This is the basic attack build right here. So here you go. This is 7 reds, 4 white, and 2 green. The reason why you want the 7 is because this will really help. This increases your basic attack speed by 8%. Which is really handy. Like, this really works really well with Alolan Ninetales because of the basic attacks, especially with the Aurora Veil you get. Imagine how fast you can get off those basic attacks on the Aurora Veil. It's honestly pretty crazy, honestly. And the albums I have here also give it a little bit of HP as well. So I have 4 white here, which is really nice, courtesy of Moltres, Porygon, Scyther, and Butterfree, which Scyther and Butterfree also give me 2 green, which is really nice. So that gives Ninetales some more special attack. In addition, with some of the albums I have here, like for example Arcanine, Moltres, Growlithe, and I believe Ninetales itself, I believe also gives it as well. Let me see. No, Ninetales actually raises special defense. Oh no, Magmar, Growlithe, Moltres, and Arcanine. Those give special attack, which is really nice. And then Porygon here also gives special attack, even though it is a white emblem. It also increases the special attack. So I think it's really nice. Charizard doesn't increase attack, but it does a special attack, but it does raise my HP a little bit. But I put Charizard here because it didn't really hinder special attack that much. So yeah, guys, that's my album build for Ninetales. I use this mainly for Ninetales, and I honestly think it's a really good Pokemon that I think you should definitely give it a shot and see what it can do for you. Um, I think it's definitely a fun Pokemon to play. I think Ninetales is definitely something that is definitely something that is definitely not seen as often, but I feel like Ninetales with Mamoswine together is just an absolute crazy combination, honestly. That's just my opinion, of course. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of Alolan Ninetales. What do you guys think of this beautiful, majestic fox here? I think it's really cool. I like it. I am definitely a fan of it, of course. So yeah, guys, that's gonna do it for this Ninetales episode. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and end this video. Thank you guys for watching. Eldegoss deep dive coming pretty soon. Stay tuned for that. So thank you guys for watching, and hit that like button, subscribe, and comment, all that good stuff. And I will catch you guys next time. Take care.